Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
Time to call a credit repair company to fix my credit.
Hold the phone, man. You can do it yourself with Credit Versio.
That's way too hard. Call the credit repair company. Most credit repair companies only work on 1 or 2 accounts at a time, making it slow and expensive. You won't figure that out for months. Ignore him. Credit Versio's brilliant software scans all 3 credit bureaus, finds the accounts that are hurting your score, and guides you through the entire process. Anyone can do it. Let's fast forward and see the results. Wow, I fixed my own credit and saved hundreds. You can do this. Visit creditversio.com.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplify Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplify Development Services.
This is the BCSN Pod Zone, your place for the news, views, and conversations about all things related to HBCU athletics. Here are the BCSN SportsWrap, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Knights of the Round Table, the pregame show, the Carlos Brown Show, the ONG Strike Zone, and more in one place. We are changing the way you consume HBCU sports, one broadcast at a time.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU Sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Mobile banking from Truist actually works for you. It gives you simple, smart, personalized insights to keep you one step ahead. Because we think that's the kind of control you deserve over your money. When you start with care, you get a different kind of bank. Truist. Download the mobile app now.
At Tyson, we know taste is local. Some like their beef pit smoked, their chicken spiced all the way up, or their pork sweet and saucy. Local flavors, global impact. That's what feeding the world is all about.
It's like a loot machine. All around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loot machine.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
Time to call a credit repair company to fix my credit.
Hold the phone, man. You can do it yourself with Credit Versio.
That's way too hard. Call the credit repair company. Most credit repair companies only work on 1 or 2 accounts at a time, making it slow and expensive. You won't figure that out for months. Ignore him. Credit Versio's brilliant software scans all 3 credit bureaus, finds the accounts that are hurting your score, and guides you through the entire process. Anyone can do it. Let's fast forward and see the results. Wow, I fixed my own credit and saved hundreds.
You can do this. Visit creditversio.com.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplified Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplified Development Services.
This is the BCSN Pod Zone, your place for the news, views, and conversations about all things related to HBCU athletics. Here are the BCSN SportsWrap, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Knights of the Round Table, the pregame show, the Carlos Brown Show, the ONG Strike Zone, and more in one place. We are changing the way you consume HBCU sports, one broadcast at a time.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit HBCUPrideJoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry. But you stay on hard.
right, hello and welcome to another live edition of the BCSN SportsWrap. I'm Brian Fulford. Take two.
Hit my elbow hit the button. It hit the button, bro.
All right, let's do it again. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. My name is Brian Fulford, and welcome to another edition of the BCSN SportsWrap. Doing it live, doing it the way we always do it on a Sunday night. Brian and Drew here, and it's good to be on tonight. Drew, how you feeling tonight? What's good? How's your bracket looking?
Why you got jokes, man?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not in the mood for those kind of jokes, man. My bracket was over with. Brian, my brackets were like HBCU basketball in the postseason. It was over with before the first weekend.
Oh, see, that's
yeah, I said
that's yeah, you said it. That's nasty. That's nasty.
But it's the truth.
I will say I still have half of my bracket. Well, when I say bracket, I've still got 2 teams still alive, my final 4 teams, but that's in one particular pool or one bracket, and I also am dealing with some future plays that I have out there, so we'll talk about that as well. As you can see, Drew is doing a little double duty. He's producing, he's talking to probably our producer, our CEO, Roy. A lot of things go on live when we do our show, so that's what happens when you self-produce. So as I will ramble and talk until Drew is finished, it's all good. So was that the boss?
No, well, that was the original boss. That was Mom. I had to stop and answer that.
I got you. I got you. How's Mom doing?
Mom's doing fine. Mom watches the weather in my area more than I watch the weather in my area, even though she's 600 miles away from me. Letting me know, you got some storms coming through that way, baby. And I saw there might be some possible tornadoes down that way. I know, Mom. I know. When I get the alert on my phone, then I will take the appropriate action. But
Lord have mercy.
you always Mama's baby. I'll be 51. I'll be 51 years old in 2 weeks, but I'm still Mama's baby.
Amen for that. That's one little thing that I miss, most definitely, man. But I get it on the other end. My father loves to tell me about the weather in Atlanta. I don't know if he's trying to get me to come up or not get me to come up. I don't know sometimes. Occasionally he tells me about when there's a hurricane coming down this way, and there's a few times when I've had to say, "Oh, really?" No lie. So that just tells you how alert I am sometimes with the weather situation down these ways. Want to quickly get the mentions and say thank you to everybody watching us on Facebook and YouTube. Of course, if you're watching on Facebook, you're probably watching on our BCSN SportsWrap stream, as our Black College Sports Network Facebook page is still finishing up with a Morehouse baseball game against Clark Atlanta. So that's a big time game going on, and so we're proud to be broadcast partners for Morehouse College, and so that game is happening there. And of course, if you're watching us on Twitter and want to come be a part of the live chat, you can come do that on YouTube, and that's youtube.com/MyJBN1. Matter of fact, just follow the Black College Sports Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at MyBCSN1. You can always download the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. MyJBN and MyBCSN is where you can find us on the Google Play and Apple App Store. And then always go download the BCSN Pod Zone everywhere that you listen to podcast, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, everywhere, Apple Podcasts. We appreciate all. Like, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, wherever you are, give a review. It all helps out the algorithms, and then share. So now that I got those out of the way, let's get into some of the topics that we wanted to get into, Drew. Largely a basketball-centric show as we are in the midst of March Madness. Some interesting conversations. I think, as we've seen, as we're recording this on a Sunday evening where we're in the midst of the halftime of the final Elite Eight game, we've got 3 teams already in the Final Four. You've got Florida Atlantic University from Conference USA, a 1-bid league. You have I just brain fart. San Diego State from the Mountain West. I believe they got 2. I don't think the Mountain West was a 1-bid lead this year. They may have gotten 2, but sometimes they are a 1-bid league. We'll have to double check that. And then you've got UConn, Connecticut from out of the Big East. They look really good. And then we're either going to get Miami or Texas. So essentially, you're going to get 2 teams from, on the basketball level, we would say, I don't know if we necessarily say mid-major, but we definitely would say they're not a part of the Power 6. And what are the Power 6? So the Power 6 conferences are essentially the Power 5 that you are used to in football, plus the Big East. The Big East would be considered the 6th power conference. And some people will argue, I think, the Atlantic 10.
The American, or the American.
Yeah, the American, but that, I mean, essentially when people say the Power 6, they're usually, because of the history of the Big East in basketball, that's the 6th conference outside of the Pac, Big 12, whatever they are now, the Big 10, whatever they are now, ACC and SEC. Almost feels strange saying the Big 12 when there's like 14, and then calling the Big 10 when there's almost 20. So it just, whatever. We just kind of go with it, right? That's how we think of it. So, Drew, the big question that a lot of folks in our circles are noticing and kind of scratching their heads and wondering is there a time? Is basketball starting to balance itself out because of things such as the transfer portal, NIL, where we may see a team from the MEAC or the SWAC actually make a run where they too could become the Florida Atlantic or, the San Diego State? How far away are we, Drew? I mean, if you had to, if you just had to guesstimate and turn around and you had some numbers there in front of you, you could throw a dart at the wall. How many years do you think we are from potentially realizing that day? Are you glass half full guy or glass half empty guy? Optimist or pessimist?
Bryan, we are probably, honestly, if I were to put a number and quantify it, I'd say we are a decade away. Sometime in the 30s at the earliest, I would think.
The 2030s.
30s, yes.
Okay.
2030s.
Okay.
That would be my guesstimate on that, Bryan. I may be wrong, but
what kind of leads you into that, in that direction, and we're only really talking 7 years from now, just to, not that it's not close, but it's still only 7 years away.
And number one, it's going to require change of leadership at the president's level.
The academic institutions?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Because you got to think about it. The presidents control not only the commissioner and the athletic council, but who they have in the athletic director seats. And budgets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The president hires a CFO.
Mm-hmm.
So until you've got presidents who are, and I don't mean to say this so disrespectful, who aren't so old school as in, this is how it was always done. This is how we did it in my day. Bryan, in my day, we only had 3 channels. We had 4 channels on my TV.
You still remember those days, huh?
With the rabbit ears and a pair of wire pliers to change the channel because you lost the knob off of it.
To UHF to get to UHF. You remember those days?
Oh my God, Brian. Yes, I do
How
remember
far
those
we've
days.
come. How far we have come.
Man, I remember with gas was 59 cents, 59.9. Brian.
Stop it. Stop
No,
it. Okay, here we go.
and here's my last one. You remember when you were little and your mom or your dad always went to the same gas station?
Yeah.
And they would only go on certain days because the person who pumped your gas, yes, somebody actually used to come out and pump your gas. You know, they would come out, pump your gas, wipe the windows down for you, and do all that stuff when they had full service gas stations. And you could actually take your car to the corner gas station to get it fixed
I still
by the
remember that.
mechanic who was there. So
there's still one state that does full service. Do you know which state that is? Do you know?
That would be Jersey.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Yeah, yes. But that's how things used to be. And we still have some presidents of universities who are maybe and I'm being facetious when I say that. Go ahead.
Here's your challenge for presidents. Presidents are dealing with an awakening as we are more aware of monies that let me say this. One, presidents have to deal with so many things these days in terms of you have political factors going on in the country right now, which you have to sort of fight against. In some states, you have to fight to make sure that the things that make your HBCU unique don't go away, and especially if you're in a red state. So you're fighting political agendas right now, and sometimes they're not even targeting you, but they involve you. Then you have the state resources and land grant money that we've come to understand that we have HBCUs and schools have been shorted, and then you have the fight of being allowed to use that money for certain things versus just giving us the money and letting us do what we need to do, or letting us choose to improve what we need to improve. And then you have the change in the athletic environment where, again, I've always said athletics is not athletics is a recession proof industry because there's a lot of money being made, but the distribution of the money right now is very one-sided to probably maybe a fifth of the institutions in Division I athletics. And I'm talking about the Power Fives. They control so much. So where do HBCUs find their fit? How do HBCUs, make their way into this economy of college athletics? And there are a lot of presidents out there who still hold on to the fact that our institution's first purpose is to graduate people, is to be institutions of higher learning, not factories for athletic entertainment that produce, joy and good times for the masses and yield a small number of multimillionaires. That there are still HBCU presidents out there who don't put athletics first.
Brian, what about those thousandaires who are more likely to give back to your university versus those millionaires who will give it back for a photo op? Go back to the President Obama and how he changed the landscape of how presidential campaigns were ran when he raised his money off of $25 here, $25 there to raise his money to campaign with versus going to the big donors to get all that money. Well, if you produce more thousandaires, who would be, and if we could get those thousandaires to graduate from our institutions with less debt than you and I had when we came out of school, we're more likely, because we have more disposable income, to give back to our institution. Bryan, tell the truth. Would you love to give more money back to Florida A&M University than you probably currently have? But because you don't have the disposable income after you pay car note, house note, room, board, shelter, food, light, internet, everything else, you don't have the disposable income in order to increase. You give what you can.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure everybody out here within the sound of my voice would love to give more, but let's be honest. If I have to choose between feeding my family or paying my car note and give it to the institution where I graduated from, or for some of us, didn't graduate from but attended, I'm gonna eat, bro. just being real.
I do. I will say what's interesting about, you got athletic departments are forced to find creative ways, and I think, see, what I continue to I continue to sit here and think about the fact that universities and athletic departments, just maybe universities and departments in general, or maybe I'm going to go back to university and athletic departments. Not they're not working together at the rate that they could be and should be, because I think there's a business model that is not maybe understood or appreciated or established, where your university should be looking to work with the athletic department and having other departments working with the athletic department, because the athletic department is a real world that's your, we talk about going off and getting internships and things of that nature. There are very few departments or colleges within a university that can't benefit from working with athletics. Communications can benefit from working with athletics. Communication students, business students, marketing students, medical students, or students who are thinking about going into medicine, biology, sports medicine training, those kind of students. There are musical students. There are so many different things that students around campus can be a part of working with athletics, and it really has to be a focused attack. It can't just be, oh yeah, we have opportunities, and yeah, we kind of put out flyers and information for students around campus. No, it's got to come from the deans, like the deans of every college, like the business dean, the dean of communications, the dean and wherever. They have to know that their president wants them to find ways for their students to get involved in athletics, because now you're pouring into the athletic department with real live resources so that you can do more, so that you can so that you can broadcast more games, so that you can feature more athletic events, so that now the athletic department can then advertise and promote more, raise more funds, generate more funds, host more events for fundraisers. See, there's a big disconnect. So let me bring all this back to, we talk about how do institutions, how do HBCUs, how can they become the next Florida Atlantic? How can they become the next San Diego State? And it goes deeper than just the coaches and finding new teams. Because look, Drew, the one fascinating thing I will say about this tournament is, look at Florida Atlantic, for example. They played a Kansas State team in the championship of the regional finals, right? A Kansas State team that pretty much they had like 10 new players. And a lot of those players came from out of the transfer portal, right? 10 new players with a new coach. Okay. Then you also, what do you have to do? Then you had Florida Atlantic University that is operating with an NIL opportunities in Boca Raton, Florida, a very wealthy area. Okay. So how many HBCUs have NILs established? I mean, I'm aware of Grambling. Outside of Grambling, maybe there are other entities that are out there helping HBCUs, but in terms of collectives. How many collectives every university, every HBCU in the Division I level, whether it be from a booster or booster related individuals, they should have a collective. There should be a collective at every HBCU putting forth the capital and the resources to help get these students to stay on campus. And so now, Drew, now I get an opportunity to say, I can compete with Miami. I can compete with Florida Atlantic. I can compete with San Diego State, and say that, you know what, I can get a coach and I can help pay for even additional coaching staffs or coaches that they need on staff. But more importantly, I can get the players. Because if you get the players, and if you have the proper resources to help support those programs, you can actually, stand a chance at potentially getting into a situation where you too may find yourself in a regional final game. But that's just the first part of it, Drew. What was it? Remember, what was the other thing we talked about offline? We talked about style of play, right? And what we've watched in this tournament is you've seen teams shoot the ball well. You've seen obviously for some of these teams, the pace has been pretty exciting to watch. How come our teams can't play at a winnable pace in the non-conference? See, this goes back to non-conference and what we do in the non-conference. Too many teams are getting beat by 30, 40 points in the non-conference. So then our ratings end up falling apart. Dr. Ville comes in and said, Prairie View has a collective. Boom, that's two that I'm aware of in the SWAT. So I don't know, Drew. I watch all of this and soak it in, and you might be right. 10 years from now might be the point of where we are. I sure would like to think, though, as resources such as NIL are happening, I would sure like to think that with television opportunities, big entities like HBCU Go, they said they were gonna put out 2,000 some odd live events. Have we even seen 500? Have we even seen 200? I know I've seen quite a few events from HBCU League Pass Plus. I know we've been able to put out quite a few events, but that's just a snippet. That's a small percentage of what's out there on the marketplace. And so until we can put more events into these spaces where advertisers are, and we have people that are speaking to advertisers and getting advertisers to put money into the pockets and coffers of these athletic programs, 10 years. 10 years sounds about right. I wish it were sooner, but 10 years sounds about right. Coming up on this show, we're going to talk about, we're getting close to releasing our BCSN All-American teams. We're going to talk about some of the nominees for the Coach and Player of the Year at the Division I level. If we get time, we'll kind of talk about the Division II and NAIA level. Coming up also later, we will release the final rankings and declare our Black College National Champions in Division I, Division II, and NAIA basketball for men and women. We'll also release a new Week 3 of our baseball and softball rankings as well. So let's take a quick break, come back, Drew, and let's kind of talk about coaches. Interesting conversation that's come up lately based on an old clip, but it's not an old story. We'll talk about that a little bit more on the other side. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap with Bryan and A.D. We'll be back in just a moment.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU Sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Mobile banking from Truist actually works for you. It gives you simple, smart, personalized insights to keep you one step ahead. Because we think that's the kind of control you deserve over your money. When you start with care, you get a different kind of bank. Truist. Download the mobile app now.
At Tyson, we know taste is local. Some like their beef pit smoked, their chicken spiced all the way up, or their pork sweet and saucy. Local flavors, global impact. That's what feeding the world is all about.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loop machine.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
Time to call a credit repair company to fix my credit.
Hold the phone, man. You can do it yourself with Credit Versio.
That's way too hard. Call the credit repair company. Most credit repair companies only work on 1 or 2 accounts at a time, making it slow and expensive. You won't figure that out for months. Ignore him. Credit Versio's brilliant software scans all 3 credit bureaus, finds the accounts that are hurting your score, and guides you through the entire process. Anyone can do it. Let's fast forward and see the results. Wow, I fixed my own credit and saved hundreds.
You can do this. Visit creditversio.com.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and A.D here. I want to appreciate you guys for tuning in there on YouTube and Facebook. Shout out to Walter Harley, first one to jump in. Mary 305. Edward, Timber T, appreciate the love on the shirts. And also, thanks for the kind words regarding Wednesday's O&G Strike Zone, our tribute show for our friend Kofi Hemingway. We'll make sure to share, again, some information. We'll share some. Okay, wait a second. Your elbow hit the thing again.
That's the second time that's happened.
You might need to move your elbow. Anyway, so if you're listening to this, don't worry about it. If you're watching, you're like, "What the hell just happened?" Don't worry about it. Yeah. So yeah, we'll share some more information. Our friend Kofi Hemingway's homegoing service will be on Saturday, April 1st in Tallahassee, Florida. It will be streamed online, so there'll be an opportunity if you are someone who would like to or has thought about being in the Tallahassee area to attend. We encourage you. It's an 11:30 a.m. service, but it'll also be streamed online. So check. I believe you can always check the Black College Sports Network. You can also check the O&G Strike Zone. That's O&G Strike Zone on Twitter and Facebook, and we'll have those links for Saturday morning. And we'll share some information here a little bit later in the show about the GoFundMe page. You can go to GoFundMe.com and just type in a search, Kofi Hemingway, and those proceeds go to the family. And so any bit of love and support, it's been great. But I mean, we're going to keep Kofi's name alive for until we see him again. I know for me, and as long as I'm able to have a platform to talk about FAMU athletics, because I wouldn't be doing it without him, and so wouldn't do it with anybody else. And so I'm thankful that we had the opportunity. Drew did a great job producing on Wednesday. Kelvin, great stories. Marcus and everybody who joined us. So really emotional show. I hope if you didn't get a chance, it's available on YouTube. It's available in video version, even on Spotify, which does video podcasting now. So I think that one I did happen to put up on the video podcast feed, Drew. So please take time. Go ahead.
And I was going to say, I apologize about that curveball I threw at y'all at the end when we closed out on
No,
the,
man, no,
the show.
Don't apologize. Don't apologize. Don't apologize, because yeah, I mean, it worked out. It worked out real well. More shout outs. Dr. Cavill, who did drop some knowledge about Prairie View and the NIL collective they have. So that's 2 entities. Grambling, Prairie View. We're still looking for others. Ashton Harris jumped in. What up, Ashton? David Garner dropped some notes about Jackson State losing a wide receiver coach. Curious why, it's always interesting, especially during spring practices. I mean, you got to think maybe a call from the NFL came. I don't know. We're speculating. I don't know. Champ D, 1012 said the A&T women's bowling team just won their 3rd consecutive MEAC tournament championship. I'm going to give a shout out to Florida A&M's Lady Rattlers. Their bowling team came in 3rd. They lost a heartbreaker this morning to Prairie View A&M. I do not know who ended up winning. I was searching around. So if anybody knows who won the SWAC women's bowling, I think it came down to who did it come down to? Prairie View and somebody else. That's who we lost to. But FAMU's bowling team came in 3rd. So very proud of that effort. And Chuck Hunt, I see Chuck Hunt in there checking in on Facebook. So please keep the comments going. Any thoughts? Let's get into this story that came out. Really, actually, Drew, it was a repost from Lavelle Moten. What did it come out Saturday? No, Friday night, maybe?
I think I saw it Saturday.
Yeah. So the tweet or the actual tweet was more so in referencing to a video clip that he was responding to, in which the video clip was the Field of 68 Media Group, which it's sort of a college basketball podcast network. And they kind of have these sometime individual one-on-one discussions, but they also have these group roundtable discussions. And the purpose of this, and I'm kind of reading a little bit from HBCUsports.com, it was a roundtable discussion where the question was asked why HBCU coaches aren't sought after for mid-major or Power 5 Division I jobs. And then you had not only do you have coaches in this sort of Zoom style chat feature, but apparently you had some agents or maybe representatives from agencies, marketing agencies as well. And the first thing that when I heard the comments, Drew, I said, I've heard this before. This video is not new. And in fact, this video was making the rounds around this same time, I think, a year ago. So I don't know how, and I think Coach Moten even commented on it back then. So I don't know how somebody dropped it in his lap again. And, because obviously his name, I think, came up in it. And one of the representatives stated, I'm reading right here, one of the representatives stated that athletic directors at mid-majors and Power Fives wanted to see more hustle and self-promotion from HBCU coaches. Yes, he actually said hustle and self-promotion from HBCU coaches. While another chimed in that, quote, they haven't shown that they wanted to be hired. Now, this was a white male, white female, two different people here that actually were making these comments. And so, Drew, we we've talked about this before. I love the fact that here it is. You think about Lavelle Moton, who does a great job of promoting and marketing. He has he is very active. Has some very famous friends, people that he knows. And so he is a very engaging person on the social media front. And I think I'm getting to a point, Drew, where I think every time we talk about HBCU coaches and moving up, it's like moving up is, other than being maybe financially better. Okay, let's be real. Right now, it is financially, in most cases, a little bit better when you do move up. But just because you move up to a mid-major, and I'm gonna steal a word from my friend Dr. Cavill, just because your proximity,
watch out, y'all. Watch out.
just because your proximity to whiteness increases when you move to the Power 5 or mid-major level, does not necessarily mean it is a better job. I want to think about that for a second. Just because your proximity to whiteness improves or gets greater does not mean it's a better job. I hope I'm doing that right, Doc. I hope I'm saying that right, because Lavelle Moton is a GOAT right now. He is on GOAT status. He's on the reins for he's soon to become the all-time winningest coach at North Carolina Central, one of the blue blood HBCU basketball programs. When you say, Drew, when you say it's a blue blood,
and yes, definitely,
yeah.
especially when you think of who's in front of
the
him
history.
and who he just passed. Yeah,
Yes,
passed Big John recently, and
Yep.
definitely. That probably along with Winston-Salem, and Southern, I would say, and Virginia Union. I would say those are our Kentucky's, Duke, Kansas's, UCLA's, those teams along those lines. And if you really want to go old school, some of those old Tennessee State teams and Texas Southern teams, if you really want to go way back into history.
Yeah. Robert Jones, for a decade, has been doing it at Norfolk State. And they are constant. I mean, look, they're beating teams, mid-major teams during the non-conference season. They just had their second consecutive 20-win season. So there are guys who have made a name for themselves. And I remember, I think this past year, didn't you hear Robert, Coach Jones, his name actually got mentioned for the St. John's job, even though everybody and their mama knew who was getting the St. John's job, right? We knew.
yeah, that was going to Patino. I mean,
yeah, we knew.
Let's be real.
Patino's name was offered up in that job back in January. His name started coming about maybe February even, but so I look, that day will come when all those coaches have agents, and their agents are in the backgrounds working for them and on the better behalf. But I just you know, we're gonna continue to hear foolishness like that. It's the same sometimes foolish arguments or conversations you hear related to what's the coach we were talking about in the NFL?
The enemy.
Eric Bieniemy. Same
Big
foolish
BN.
conversation, you know. Eric Bieniemy, you know, why isn't he getting a job? Should he be getting a job? We see other coordinators get jobs when they are on successful teams. It's not even about whether you can or can't. It's like, hey, you are the OC on a successful team at a successful rate. How come you're not getting an opportunity? I don't know. I mean, but it almost it becomes a storyline, and so I don't know, Drew. What's your take on on this, and then we'll kind of talk about some coaches that did a great job this upcoming year.
It's tough, and Brian, this extends beyond the Division I level. You could say the same thing for our Division II coaches and our NAIA coaches getting the opportunity to move to not, we'll just say, call non-HBCU jobs. And let's be real, the non-HBCU jobs currently tend to pay more than the HBCU jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about, to me, it's not necessarily about the proximity to whiteness, as you put it. It's the proximity to the bank. Where can I maximize my financial well-being? Because just like an athlete has a life cycle, Brian, coaches have life cycles also. On the college level, we know the college athlete's life cycle is 4 to 5 years max. Most coaches, if you're a good coach, Brian, you're gonna get about a good 15. If you take your time as an assistant and a head coach, you're probably talking 15 to 20 years in the coaching field. So if that's your time, you've got to maximize your revenue opportunities. So it's not about getting to the job at the HWCUs. It's about getting the opportunity for the capital and getting your portion of the capital to it. And it's not that we're not getting those jobs, Brian. We're not getting the interviews for those jobs. But Brian, let me tell you a little secret about this.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that comes down to these coaches committees, the interview committees, university presidents, the search committees, athletic directors. A lot of that starts with contacts. Yes, a lot of these coaches have agents working for them. Do these agents or the coach themselves have the contact with the right person, i.e., the athletic director, or have a prior relationship with the president of the university, or have a relationship with somebody who may be on that search committee. And what a lot of times what the barrier is we don't have the relationship at the right level with some of the decision makers. Because, Ryan, just like athletic directors and coaches get recycled throughout the HBCU diaspora, so do these college presidents get recycled through the HBCU diaspora. So, yeah, it's easy for you to get an HBCU job because everyone at HBCU knows you. But how many people do we see going from HBCU? And let's talk about presidents. How many presidents of HBCUs go on to be presidents at non-HBCUs? Same glass ceiling, Brian. It's the same glass ceiling. How many deans of business schools or law schools or schools of pharmacy or schools of agriculture or architecture go on to be deans at a non-HBCU, Brian? So let's just not say it's the coaches who are facing this glass ceiling. It's unfortunately when you get into sometimes when you get hired by an HBCU, you get pigeonholed as in that's all you can do. Brian, that's just like if you were a restaurant manager, and that's the job that you've had for the last 10 years. You go to change careers, Brian. Guess what? It's hard to change careers because only thing they know you as is a restaurant manager. So it's the same glass ceiling.
Let's the underlying, you man, disappointing. That's all. It's just when you hear that, it just it kicks you in the gut, kicks you in the teeth a little bit. I do, the interesting question that always will come up is a head coach, and a lot of times it'll be made. We see it in football talked about where a coach will leave a FCS school as the head coach, or maybe even the D2 school, and he'll go be an assistant coach
At a P5.
At a P5
or a high major.
Or a high major where the salary is 2 to 3 times, what it is being the head coach.
Sean Quinn.
So, who?
Sean Quinn from Savannah State.
Yes. Okay. Right. Yeah. There's been others. The former coach at Kentucky State, left to go back to his alma mater at Air Force, but there's other cases, and so as the head, I heard a fascinating conversation. I want to get into talking about some of these coaching hires and open positions, because a great conversation. I was producing the Carlos Brown Show, which you can hear every Saturday right here on the Black College Sports Network from noon to 2 Eastern, 11 to 1 Central. And Coach Van Petway was on the show, and they were talking about the open job now at Southern University, as earlier this week Southern decided to not renew or go through any contract negotiations with Sean Woods, who had been their coach for the last 4 years. And one of the things that Coach Petway brought up was as they were throwing out a list of names that would be open to the job, was he threw a name out there, Avery Johnson. Now, one of the reports, or I don't know, I can't recall whether Coach was saying that Avery Johnson was looking for this kind of salary, or maybe he was saying that this is the report that if Avery Johnson was looking for something in the ballpark of $500,000 over for 4 years, 4-year contract. So eventually in the total would be 2. Now, see, you were quickly, hold on, that's funny. You jumped out there and quickly said, keep on looking.
500 for 4 years?
No, 500 each year. 500 each year. Now, here's 2 sides of this. And I think also on the show was, I don't know if Charles Edmond, who normally is one of the guest hosts, I think he had to leave kind of about midway through the show because there was an Alcorn State sports event he had to broadcast. Wheeler Brown, I believe, was a former AD at Jackson State, if I'm not mistaken. Were on the show.
It currently works at Fort Valley State.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So the question that you had, so from an administrative level, you had someone who was of that. When you hear 500,000, people, you even went, oh no, but as Coach Pettaway brought out, he's one of your own, Southern. He is one of you. And think about all that Avery Johnson has done, not only on the NBA level, but he was a coach at Alabama, had a few good years at Alabama as well. He's coached in the NBA as well. He calls games in professionally, and he's Southern. He's a Southern grad. Is he? He's a Southern grad, right? Avery Johnson.
I'm assuming he got his degree from Southern. I know he played basketball at Southern, so I'm going to assume that he at some point in time finished his.
So the thought was this hire for Southern, Coach Pettaway was saying, could be as impactful as what Coach Prime did for Jackson State. From the standpoint of talking about elevating your program with one of your own. And, don't tell me that the money can't be found, because if you talk to the right people, or if you talk, there's always ways that maybe on the book you could say, well, this contract is only paying $150,000, but hey, boosters, I got to go find $350,000 more dollars.
Yeah.
Over, each of the next 4 years. And hey, the boosters will probably come back and say, we got to have some championships. But it goes back into investing in your program. Is Southern worth it? Is Southern basketball worth it? If you can bring somebody of Avery Johnson's ilk into your program, it's worth it. Is it not, Drew?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would think so. I would think so.
So you don't scoff. So you don't think $500,000 is actually such a bad deal then?
You once again. Here's those things with those presidents. Today's president would probably say, "Keep on looking." How many presidents, athletic directors, and boards will take another flyer like they did with Coach Prime? Because they took a flyer with that one and figure out a way to work out a partnership where they could afford to pay Prime what they paid Prime, because they probably had never paid a coach that much money before, because someone had the vision and could see the long term and the revenue potential of having a Coach Prime around. Now, here's your problem with that, Brian. Avery does not have that same cachet.
Yeah, but he may not have the same cachet, but is he any different than an Ed Reed? Is he? I'm talking sport. I'm talking. You do? Yeah. Well, yes. In the sense, yeah. Good one. He won't be. He understands Southern. He understands. He is Southern. He is SWAC. He understands, right? Avery Johnson is not going to come into Southern University, because
seriously, he's going to be on a E-Rob, but probably E-Rob type level.
And so if you're able to leverage
Alabama State,
if Avery Johnson is able to leverage even a small portion of what Coach Prime brought to Jackson State, his salary will pay for itself. His salary will pay for itself, I believe. I don't know who A.D. Roman Banks has. There's a lot of rumors out there. Coach Van, they had a nice list. I kept waiting to see whether there was going to be anybody from our university on that list, but it wasn't. But anyway, it was a beautiful list of names that they were coming up with, and it was a fascinating listen. So if you're a Southern University guy, or you just want to hear some good basketball talk, go listen to on the BCSN Pod Zone, or go check out Saturday's show on our YouTube feed. There's even a YouTube podcast set up for Carlos Brown. You can listen to yesterday's show. Fascinating conversation between him. But I think Avery would be a big time hire, and it makes sense. You know, unlike other names that you hear, I mean, he played there. He's he should be in the rafters if he's not already in the rafters at Southern University. I don't know what they call the Baby Dome. Is that what they call that arena there? I don't know. Somebody tell me out there what they call the arena. I'm not up. I'm still putting in SWAC hours, so don't. I'm still trying to figure out names of arenas and stadiums and things like that. So, but I just thought a couple other names, Drew, over the past week or two. Coppin State parted ways with Juan Dixon after 6 years. Coppin State had like a good run where they got to the MEAC championship with Player of the Year. I think it was last year. But yeah, there was some. I read some the mini dome. Thank you, Chuck Hunt. Baby dome, mini dome. Sorry about that. The mini dome. I don't know where I heard baby from, but anyway. There's some real scandalous stuff that I read in an article regarding Juan Dixon, and not necessarily stuff that he did, but something that he supposedly or allegedly knew of involving a coach. And I was like, yo, how did he even coach this season? Because that story came out at the beginning of this year. So Coppin State said, yeah, we're good. So that's an open job. Southern obviously open. Edward Waters, I believe, posted that they're looking for a job, looking for a head coach. Harold White, who was the interim. So Edward Waters, that's a good opportunity there on the Division II level in the SIAC. No truth to the rumors that I submitted my name, so there's no truth to that. I'm just taking myself. I'm taking myself out.
Off the list.
I'm taking myself. Although, Drew, how quickly can I pull together a staff? I may have to consult with you. I may have to put my name in the hunt. If you can help me pull together a staff, I think I know a couple of recruiters. I think I would do a great job at Edward Waters University.
You're already down there in Florida, so I'm
already in Florida. I know the state. I know the state. And then on the women's basketball side, Freddie Murray is out at Grambling State. So Grambling State choosing to go in another direction for their women's program. Any other names of coaches that we might have missed, Drew?
No. Yeah.
I love the fact that
about that, throw them out there.
Yeah, I love the fact Dr. Cavill, we were talking about where along the lines with the Avery Johnson feel. He said he's closer to a Doug Williams framework. If I'm assuming that's what he's talking about, that's a good. And that was a good hire for Grambling. That was a good hire for Grambling at the time. He had a lot of success on the first go around. I think the second go around started well and didn't go well. I think something like that. Let's do this before we go to break. Candidates for Coach of the Year in basketball, Division I. Candidates for Coach of the Year. I'm just going to throw some names out there, and you tell me how you feel about the jobs and who you might lean to for Coach of the Year. On the men's side, we've got. I'm gonna give you 5 names. Okay, all who I think did really good jobs this year. From the MEAC, you've got Kenneth Blakeney, who led Howard to a regular season and a conference title. Robert Jones of Norfolk State, who went 22-11, I believe. Second 20-win season, came up short in the conference championship game. A few injuries knocked them out of the regular season title that last couple weeks of the season. But for the most part, Norfolk State was running, in the lead with the conference. In the SWAC, you got Landon Bussey of Alcorn State, Dante Jackson of Grambling State. Both of them co-SWAC champions, 15-3. Dante Jackson of Grambling State, they finished with probably the most wins of any HBCU program with like 24. And then you have Johnny Jones of Texas Southern, the king of March, as I like to call him, with the 3-peat in the SWAC tournament for Texas Southern. So, obviously, You know,
Evan Moore says Bussy and Reed. We haven't even got to the women yet.
we
Evan
haven't
Moore,
got to the women yet. Ain't got to slow down,
let us run the show.
Evan.
Slow the show.
Exactly. Slow down. So in terms of men, we're talking about the men. Who you got? The tough one got you thinking about this one.
I got me thinking. I mean, I kind of like Blakeney, and if you had to put me in the corner right now and tell me to vote, my vote would be for Blakeney as of right now.
Okay.
First time Howard has won the BAC outright in forever, regular season and tournament. Had a decent non-conference record coming in, so that would be why I would vote for Howard. A decent, yeah. My vote right now today would be for Howard. That's not to say that's who I'm going to vote for when I finish doing my research, but
right.
now.
Yeah, I mean Blakeney is definitely one of those guys. You know, I definitely think he's one of the ones to consider high on the list for what he did. Let's go over to the women's side. I'd love for you guys in the chats to post your comments. Who would you name as your HBCU Division I men's basketball coach? On the women's side, here's some standout names on the women's side. You've got Ed Davis Jr. from Morgan State. You've got Larry Vickers of Norfolk State. Norfolk State won the outright and the tournament championship for the MEAC. How about Terrell Robinson of North Carolina A&T, who became the all-time winningest coach at A&T this year? I think they finished like 4th in the CAA. He's over 200 wins, career wins. Carlos Funches of Southern, with the leading Southern to the SWAC tournament championship. And then, of course, there's Tamika Reed of Jackson State, and the Lady Tigers won their 4th consecutive regular season. So we know who Edwin Moore is taking. Drew, who are you thinking about on the women's side? I think that one might be a little bit tougher.
On the surface, it should be Tamika Reed. But
okay,
Tamika Reed, maybe for Jordan syndrome.
What's that syndrome?
You know Michael Jordan from about 88 for about a 10-year span in the league, from 88 to 98, was the best player in the NBA. But he did not win the MVP every year.
Okay.
Why? Because people got tired of voting for him. Remember Charles Barkley won it one year.
Yeah.
Because Charles Barkley had a good year. Michael Jordan had his typical year, but somebody else had a good year. So they gave it to the other person because of Jordan fatigue. And that's what I'm afraid is going to happen with this. You're going to get a bit of Tamika Reed fatigue, which I think is going to allow someone else to step up and win the award. There are a lot of good candidates out there. Well, yeah, I keep it shut, keep my mouth shut, but I think there are a lot of good candidates out there.
Well, I remember this is just Division I women. So,
I know. I know. We just talked about Division I.
Yeah, I think you know, as much here's the angles I think that you have with Tamika Reed. You have the being able to maintain success is hard, and so to be able to do what she was able to do with that team and go 17-1 through the conference, and probably outside of a heave ho, probably is in the championship game, maybe even winning the championship. So it's hard to do what she's done. But how about Larry Vickers? I'm gonna put in a bid for Larry Vickers. 20 best record, in all of HBCU women's basketball. Norfolk State was probably the best team in our polls. When I look at it, outside of maybe a week, they were pretty much the top team pretty much for the entire season, except for maybe a week. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, I might go. I might go Vickers. I might say Vickers. It's hard to vote against Coach Reed, but so it's interesting. We'll tell you more next week. On next week's show, we'll talk about more of the Division 1, 2, and NAIA players and coaches of the year. But coming up after the break, we're going to get into the final release of the men and women's Division 1, Division 2, and NAIA champions based on the rankings provided by the Black College Sports Network. And we'll tell you who our HBCU national champions are coming up after this break. You're watching the Sports Wrap. We'll be back in 2.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplify Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplify Development Services.
This is the BCSN Pod Zone, your place for the news, views, and conversations about all things related to HBCU athletics. Here are the BCSN SportsWrap, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Knights of the Round Table, the pregame show, the Carlos Brown Show, the ONG Strike Zone, and more in one place. We are changing the way you consume HBCU sports, one broadcast at a time.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU Sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Mobile banking from Truist actually works for you. It gives you simple, smart, personalized insights to keep you one step ahead. Because we think that's the kind of control you deserve over your money. When you start with care, you get a different kind of bank. Truist. Download the mobile app now.
At Tyson.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN Sports Wrap. Bryan and A.D here. A little full disclosure. I'm doing something that you tell people to text and drive. I'm doing like 3 things here as we do this show. We've got a freaking amazing game coming up here between Miami and Texas happening live while we're on the air. Miami, the team that just won't go away, has taken a short lead over Texas. I think Texas was up by like 10 points somewhere in the middle of the second half. Miami just put a run on, and now they have a 2-point lead with exactly 1 minute to go. Now, my TV may be behind, so spoiler alerts. If you don't want to know the ending of the Miami-Texas game, don't listen for the next 5 minutes here, because I'm afraid my reaction or your reaction, Drew, might give it away here. I'm just being honest. So amazing here. Texas with the wow. This would be a major upset, I think. Texas, wow. And then I'm also doing anybody into fantasy baseball? Anybody? I mean, I feel like sometimes I'm on an island, but I'm even doing fantasy baseball drafts. I got a lot of things going on right now. A couple interesting comments I see, Drew, in the chat room. Avery Johnson has the court is named off. I don't know if it's a Chuck Hunt who had posted that the court is named after Avery Johnson.
That would be interesting to coach on your own court.
Yeah, coaching on your own court. Some interesting nominees, Dr.
But Brian,
Brian,
before you go to the next one, how interesting would it be if you got fired from the job where you coach on the court that's named after you? If you were to get fired at that point,
don't let that happen.
I'm just throwing it out there. He's got to resign. He's got to resign. You can't fire
exactly.
Him. If that's
you can't fire him.
I'm just throwing it out there. Anyway.
Oh my gosh. Miami is up 4 with 23 seconds to go. This is unbelievable. Texas is about to look. The state of Florida is potentially about to have 2 teams in the Final Four, Drew. Florida I never thought the day would come where the state of Florida would have more teams in the Final Four than the home state of Indiana. Florida might officially become a basketball state after this. They ain't winning nothing in football. Haven't won anything in football recently. But they're about to send 2 teams to the Final Four. And I think the world would flip over if you ended up with a FAU Miami national championship game. That is likely, Drew.
The fact that you got 2 Florida teams and no Carolina teams.
Thank you. There's no Carolina teams, no teams from Indiana.
No West Coast teams. Well, you got West Coast. You got San Diego. You got San Diego.
Who else? You got UConn representing the Northeast. This is unbelievable. Yeah. Up 5 with 23 seconds to go. Biggest collapse. I mean, Texas just, I don't know, man, just vomited all over themselves, I guess. That's that's the only way I can put it. All right, Drew.
Wow.
Yeah, let's get into, as the final seconds play out, let's get into our top 5. Now, you got to help me out here and tell me kind of which direction you want to go with this in terms of which division.
We will start with the NAIA women.
Okay, NAIA women.
Yes.
All right.
And
So
we'll
what we're
start
going
with
to
our
normally
Edna
we only
Hunts.
normally we only show you top 5, but in this case, so we give a full top 10. So we're going to tell you the teams from 6 to 10, and then give you the final 5. So this is the NAIA women. So, all right. All right. So number 10, you've got Houston Tilliston, 13-13. Stillman, number 9, with a record of 16-13. Wiley College with a record of 16-10. Arkansas Baptist, I believe this was their first year in NAIA. Drew, is that correct?
I believe so. If it's not the first, it's the second.
Okay. And then you had Langston University finishing 17-12.
Let me know when you're ready
Right
to
on that?
move on. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Number 5, coming in number 5, Xavier University. With an overall record of 18-11, they were 12-8 in the Red River, finishing with 62.7. So a good season for Xavier in the top 5. Head coach Bo Browder. We know that team will find its way back into the NAIA playoffs, I'm sure, next year. Number 4. Number 4, as we hit the drum roll. Number 4, Fisk University. First year in the GCAC. Finished 19-8 overall, 12-4 in the GCAC. Great season for Fisk University. I think they were even a 3 seed in the GCAC tournament, if I'm not mistaken. 75.18 is what their final score is. Congratulations to Fisk. Number 3. The Philander Smith College Panthers. Philander Smith overall 23-7, 13-4 in the GCAC, 78.48. Philander Smith actually did make an appearance in the NAIA national tournament. Unfortunately, they lost in their opening round game. So congratulations to Philander Smith. Number 2. Florida Memorial Lions. Florida Memorial finishes their season 23-6. After losing the first game of their conference in the Sun Conference, they went on a 17-game streak, won the 3 games in the tournament. Outstanding year for Florida Memorial. Finished with 86.97 points. So congratulations to Florida Memorial on a great season and winning a championship. And then our BCSN NAIA Women's National Champs, the Rust College Lady Bearcats, head coach Eric Jackson, 23-6, 15-2. They won the GCAC tournament, won a game in the NAIA as well, and just an amazing run. Actually, I believe, Drew, this is their second consecutive BCSN NAIA national championship. Is that correct?
That would be correct, Brian.
All right. Well, hey, congratulations to the Lady Bearcats and Coach Jackson on the recognition. So shout out to Rust. All right. Let's move over to Division II women. Division II women from 10 up to 6. You had Kentucky State coming in 10th with a record of 16-10. Clark Atlanta finished 16-11. I believe Clark Atlanta won the East Division of the SIAC. Winston-Salem State. Gotta be careful about those S's and T's. 16-9, finishing in 8th place. Savannah State, 17-8. They were the champions of a year ago. So tough to repeat as champs. And number 6, the Lincoln, PA Lions. They finished 19-9 in the CIAA, 13-5 in conference play. All right, let's go to our top 5 here. Tried to hit the cough button. I think I missed. All right, number 5, Elizabeth City State. 20-10 record overall. Conference 13-7 in the CIAA. Of course, the magical run through the CIAA tournament and winning the CIAA. Great season for Elizabeth City State. Number 4, Miles College. Miles comes in 21-8 overall record, 15-7 in the SIAC. Memory fades me a little, Drew. Did they make it into the Division II tournament? I know the men did. Okay, the women did not. Okay. I wasn't sure, so I like to default to you on things like that. Okay. Let's keep it going here. Number 3. Fayetteville State finished 18-7 overall, 14-3 in the CIAA. 78.96 was their mark. The Lady Broncos finished their season 18-7. Nice job. No postseason for them as well in the NCAA. Unable to. I think unfortunately they were the 1 overall seed and ended up losing in the opening round of the CIAA, if my memory serves correct.
Would be correct.
Yeah. Number 2, West Virginia State. West Virginia State is an interesting team. Always an interesting team because they put up points, man. They just, they just have a way of putting up points per game. But they finished 22-7. They did make a trip to the NCAA, 17-6 in the Mountain East. Thank you. Mountain East Conference. I see the initials and I'm always kind of thrown off a bit. So 83.21. And number 1 in the D2 women's, without saying, pretty much should be known, is Tuskegee Golden Tigers, 26-4 overall record. The perfect SIAC record, 23-0. It's actually the second national title, HBCU national title, we have awarded Tuskegee 2 years ago. This was sort of at the end of the COVID year, I believe. We actually combined the Division II and NAIA into a small school because of the number of many teams did not play. That was sort of the COVID season, the COVID year. So, but Tuskegee did end up winning that year. And so they ended up going to the NCAAs that year. NCAA tournament wasn't too friendly to them this year, but it doesn't take away from an amazing season Coach Trelane Powell had and the Tuskegee Golden Tigers. So congratulations to them. All right, Drew, let's go over to the women's Division I here. Any quick reaction, Drew, to what we've seen here before I read these off? Just want to get your quick reaction and thoughts here before we go to the Division I.
No, Brian. Unfortunately, we haven't seen any surprises thus far on the Well, it's no one's pretty much out of order. Everything is pretty much where it was on the last poll, or excuse me, last ranking that we put out. Now, that's not to say that we may not see some shuffling in some of these other ones that we have upcoming, though, Brian.
Okay. Yep. All right. So let's go ahead and get into these top 5 for the Division I level. Here we go. From 10 to 6, it was UAPB finished just under 500 with a record of 14-17. Prairie View finishes 9th with an even 15-15 record. Number 8 is Alabama State, 16-15 record. Number 7, Alabama A&M, 14-15 record. Howard comes in at number 6 with a 16-14 record. Howard, who went to the MEAC conference championship, or excuse me, the MEAC tournament championship game for the 3rd consecutive year, ends up number 6. So let's go to the top 5. And the top 5 from out of the Colonial Athletic Association, North Carolina A&T, 18-12 overall record, 12-7, not in the MEAC, Drew. You gotta remember they're now in the CAA. But they were 12-7 in the CAA. Number 4. Number 4.
You were
Southern
supposed
University.
to catch that when you proof.
You're right. That's on me. That's on me. I didn't. Southern, 18-15 overall, 15-6 in the SWAC. They did win the SWAC tournament, and congratulations to them with the big upset over Jackson State in the semifinals. Went on to play in the first 4 round. Unfortunately, they ended up losing that game. Number 3 in our final Division I rankings for women, Morgan State. The Morgan State Lady Bears finished 17-12, 10-5 in the MEAC. Number 2. Ooh, the Jackson State Tigers. Yes, unfortunately, 21-10, 18-2 in the SWAC. Amazing conference record, but that one of those 2 losses happened in the semifinals, and it kept them from having an opportunity to go to the NCAA. They did go to the NIT, the women's NIT. Unfortunately, they lost their first game against Memphis, who went on to win a couple other games, I think. So kind of disappointed that Jackson State didn't get a chance to get a win under their belt, but I think they were playing some girls from Memphis who they weren't intimidated or backing down at all from Jackson State. And so
we seen what happened in a couple of games. Memphis did play in the NIT with them.
Yeah, don't mess.
Moving on.
Don't mess with Memphis. Don't mess with Memphis, baby. Yeah. All right, and our national champions, HBCU national champions, who pretty much, I would say, Drew, from as close to wire the wire. I mean, they had 1 week where they weren't number 1 in our rankings. Jackson State jumped them. That was the 1 week that they kind of lost a few games.
Going into the tournament, Jackson State had jumped them. Going into the both conference tournament.
Yes, and then of course Jackson State didn't win the conference. Norfolk State did, and they finished as the champs, 26-7, 14-3 overall. Won the regular season, won the conference. Ended up playing South Carolina State. Shame on Vegas for making them a 52-point underdog. Thankfully, they covered. That should have been an easy win. I tried to tell people who would listen, but anyway. So yeah, there's that, and so that's how Norfolk State ends. I believe. Yeah, good job by the Spartans. So let's do this. Let's
check it.
Oh yeah. Any comments? Any comments that came through that you want to point out, Drew?
Just saw it. Edwards says Savannah State ladies lost a few players to injuries and had chemistry issues down the stretch. Champ D 10-12. Nah, A&T is number 3. They are better than Morgan and Southern. So those are the couple comments that we've had so far when it comes to the ladies' side of the poll. So we'll take
You
this
know what?
break and see what
Maybe.
they say on the men's side.
Yeah, maybe, but the numbers are what they are. Sorry.
Yes.
But congratulations again to our HBCU national champs, Norfolk State, Tuskegee, and Russ College. So on the other side, let's tell you about the men's final rankings after these words. You're watching the BCSN Sports Wrap. We'll be back in just a moment.
At Tyson, we know taste is local. Some like their beef pit smoked, their chicken spiced all the way up, or their pork sweet and saucy. Local flavors, global impact. That's what feeding the world is all about.
It's like a loot machine. All around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loot machine.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
Time to call a credit repair company to fix my credit.
Hold the phone, man. You can do it yourself with Credit Versio. That's way too hard. Call the credit repair company. Most credit repair companies only work on 1 or 2 accounts at a time, making it slow and expensive. You won't figure that out for months. Ignore him. Credit Versio's brilliant software scans all 3 credit bureaus, finds the accounts that are hurting your score, and guides you through the entire process. Anyone can do it. Let's fast forward and see the results. Wow, I fixed my own credit and saved hundreds. You can do this. Visit creditversio.com.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplified Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplified Development Services.
This is the BCSN Pod Zone, your place for the news, views, and conversations about all things related to HBCU athletics. Here are the BCSN Sports Wrap, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Knights of the Round Table, the pregame show, the Carlos Brown Show, the ONG Strike Zone, and more in one place. We are changing the way you consume HBCU sports, one broadcast at a time.
It's never too early.
Location, you can get all of the shows that are part of the Black College Sports
Smart
Network.
that over. I hit the wrong button, Brian. I didn't turn your mic on. Take 3.
3, 2, 1. All right, welcome back. BCSN Sports Wrap. Bryan and A.D. here. I want to encourage you to go check out the BCSN Pod Zone. It's the location where all of our shows that are part of the Black College Sports Networks can be found. Our show, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, the ONG Strike Zone, the Carlos Brown Show, and other shows. And we are looking to, grow. So we're looking to expand the Black College Sports Podcast Network. You can find the BCSN Pod Zone on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. You can say, "Hey Alexa, play BCSN Pod Zone," and I mean, it's amazing technology. So please go subscribe, download, give a rating, whatever that podcast app or outfit that you use, whatever it does, just hey, give us some downloads, some ratings, share the show with your friends. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. Yeah, let's see.
Couple of the
Any
comments.
instant reaction? Okay, go ahead. Yeah. What you got?
Couple of the comments to the poll. Edward Moore says JSU wasn't number one due to an early loss. I thought they should have returned to number one much sooner than they got it. Champ D1012 says, I won't deny NSU and JSU. Edward says, I'm not disputing the poll, AD. That was the story behind the second half collapse. I'm not sure which team he is talking about right there with that second half collapse. I'm assuming he's talking about A&T with that second half collapse.
Possible, yeah. I will say, Jackson. Had Jackson State won the SWAC, they probably would have stayed number one, probably.
Yeah.
It would have been interesting too had they won the SWAC. If they were probably slated to go to a first four game because of the conference rating of the SWAC. So they would
a win in a first four game definitely would have probably put them over the top.
Would have put them over the top, right? Would have put them on that line. So, there's that. One of the discussions that, real side note here, as we're talking women's basketball, and obviously, and I just saw this come through. Dr. McClellan, Charles McClellan, commissioner of the SWAC, is a part of the men's selection committee, and we talked about this last week. The knowledge that he is able to impart, okay, and David, appreciate you, David Garner. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to mention that's where I'm going with this. The knowledge that he's able to impart to the schools is invaluable, but they got to listen to it. They've got to understand, and I don't know when those conversations happen. Like, I wish I knew, or I know they happen, like when the commissioner talks to the ADs, maybe even when the commissioner talks to the presidents. I really hope that they are on board with taking his suggestions about what it's going to take for the SWAC to get an at-large bid, because you got somebody there. Now, representation matters. You got somebody there, but it's hard for him to fight and talk about the SWAC when the bottom five is dragging people down like an anchor. And so, look, they are. That's what he said. I'm in my own words, the bottom five has to do better in their scheduling. You can go look at any metric you want. I was doing it earlier, Drew, wasn't I? Go look at Kim Palm adjusted rating. Go look at
350 and below.
Go look at 350 and below. Go look at adjusted offense. Go look at 350. Go look at team rankings. Just look at 350 and below and see how many SWAC teams end up there. Now, yes, there are other schools there, but in terms of from one conference, it doesn't take much. And so I think you have a wealth of knowledge there. And man, it'd be nice to know that people were listening and buying into it. And really, that's the initiative. You say, hey, how are we going to get there? That's the initiative. So all that said, the women have even a greater problem with representation, because for the second consecutive year, you had a team go up against a Power 5 program. Last year, it was Kim Mulkey with LSU playing Jackson State.
But hey, Brian, don't forget who did play South Carolina last year. Was the other conference played South Carolina? Howard played South Carolina last year.
Oh, how'd they fare against them?
About the same way that Norfolk did this year.
Oh, okay, about 30 points. Okay.
Yeah.
But you had, where I was going was, you had the representation matters. I don't see. When I look at the fact that people complain about the seating, I'm looking at it from a numbers perspective. I'm not seeing all this other stuff that sometimes we know is out there.
As
Let's just
fans,
keep it real.
as fans.
Yes, HBCU, African Americans, African American women, African American men, all that's out there. We understand that without saying. But I also go to the numbers. And the numbers say that there's a formula to where people in seating go, right? And so that's how people are able to predict. Dr. McClellan even said it. That's how Joe Lenardi and everybody else are able to predict where teams are going to go because of the numbers and the metrics. So the representation that the women need, there's no representation from an HBCU. I don't know. There's some small power, I don't even know, some small mid-major schools, but there's no representation from the HBCU market on the women's selection committee. And then we just saw that. But what?
I was going to say, give us the but.
Oh, well, I was going to say the one positive, the announcement that recently came out that Jackson State's Elise Wells Kilbert was selected to the NCAA Women's Basketball Rules Committee. Now, the Rules Committee, a little bit different than the selection committee for the tournament, but I think you have to start having, you have to take a step somewhere. You got to be a part of those NCAA committees to move from one committee to the next. So I would not be surprised if, I don't know how long that run is. Usually they run in cycles, Drew? Like maybe 2 to 4 years or maybe 2 to 3 years.
Rules are only changed. I know rule changes only occur every other year in both men's and women's basketball. So I don't know how long they actually serve on the committee, but you usually only get rule changes unless it's something that must be addressed and or corrected. They usually only occur every 2 years, and one of the reasons for that is so that they can actually compile data on the said rule change to see if it was effective or not.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, we'll kind of see, what happens there. Any other comments or anything else that you want to see?
Edward was speaking of Savannah State when he was talking about the team with the second half collapse.
I thought that's who he might be talking about. That's usually who he is referring to in those situations. All right, so let's go ahead and let's go through some of the
men.
The men. Let's go through the men here. Give me a second to kind of pull it up.
Already had it queued.
Alrighty. All right, so this is the NAIA men's level. We're going from the first 10, from 10 all the way up to 1. Of course, normally we only do top 5, but at the end we'll give you a top 10. Wiley College comes in at number 10 with a 10-9 record. Voorhees comes in at even 14-14. Stillman College, 16-14, coming in at number 8. Arkansas Baptist comes in at 7, 14-6. And then Paul Quinn comes in number 6 with a record of 15-7. So here we go with our top 5. Our top 5 looks like this. Dillard University, Dillard Blue Devils, come in overall record of 17-8, 10-6 in the GCAC. After a few down years, it was good to see Dillard back in the top 5. Number 4, Philander Smith, 22-7 overall, 12-4 in the GCAC. So that's 2 Philander Smith programs in the top 5. Xavier also with 2 programs in the top 5 as the men, and Coach Williams, they come in at number 3, 23-9 overall, 17-6, won the Red River, advanced to the NAIA National Tournament, and I think they got a win too, if I recall. Got a win in the tournament. Yeah, so shout out to Coach Williams and Xavier.
Park City, Kansas, I believe, is where they were at. No, they were in Idaho. No, they were in Idaho.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And no black folk in Idaho. unless you're in the military or on scholarship. Ain't no black folk in Idaho.
So you say. All right. Let's go to number 2. Langston University, amazing year, probably the best turnaround in one season to the next in all of college basketball. NAIA, NCAA, uh, NJCCA, USBA, AAU, whatever, best turnaround.
YMCA, Parks and Rec.
Right. Best turnaround from one season to the next. Coach Chris Wright, Langston 31-3, made it to the 16. Unfortunately, lost there in the round of 16 there in the NAIA National Tournament, but still an amazing year for Langston. And so, with that said, the other.
Before we move on to number 1, Brian, David Garner reminds us that Tristan Harper of Langston men's basketball was a first-team NAIA All-American also. So congratulations to Tristan Harper on that first-team nomination.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for reminding us of that.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, go to number 1, the team who won the GCAC with a perfect record, went all the way to the, for lack of a better word, the Elite 8, Great 8, whatever you want to call it for the NAIA level. It's the Tougaloo College Bulldogs. One game ahead of Langston, and that's pretty much what we thought it was going to come down to, is who advanced the furthest. And so congratulations to Tougaloo, the Bulldogs, an amazing season, an amazing run, and they are NAIA HBCU national champs.
What does that say about a program when you have 30 wins, you finish number 2? What does that say about the number 1 team, Brian?
It ends up being, look, remember the year, what was it, a couple years ago? We had Talladega and Stillman, yeah, that were co-national champs. I mean, yeah, the numbers were, the numbers were even. I mean, that's how, you would have loved to have seen those two teams on the court. And who's to say we were close? We were probably 2 games away from seeing a Tougaloo Langston Black College National Championship game in the NAIA. So that's how far we were away from that happening. So, yeah.
And the thing was, at least that year that you're talking about, Brian, Stillman and Talladega, I believe, did face each other during the regular season. I can't remember what it was. I think they split during that regular season, if I remember that correctly.
Okay. Yeah, you're probably right. Yep, I'm trying to remember, because that's right. They were in the same conference. Yep. So that was even more interesting or intriguing there. All right, let's go to Division II. Division II, from 10 up. We start down at number 10, Virginia State, a 17-11 season. Number 9 is Fayetteville State, 17-13. Morehouse College, 17-9, coming in at number 8. Number 7, Lemoyne Owen, 18-9. And number 6, West Virginia State, with a record of 20-9. Number 5 in Division II, Claflin. The Panthers come in at 19-7 overall, 10-7 in the CIAA. It's certainly a name that we haven't heard Claflin talked about a lot as it relates to basketball. So it was good to talk about them this past season. Number 4, Tuskegee finished 20-9, 15-6 in the SIC. Help me recall, Drew. Did they go to the tournament? They went to the tournament?
Yes. They went lost in the first round. They lost by 6 in the first round. They went into number 7 seed.
Okay, I thought they might have.
And as a matter of fact, Brian, the remaining teams on the Division II side were all tournament teams.
Okay. Number 3, Winston-Salem State. 21-9 overall. 13-7 in the CIAA. Won the CIAA championship. Had to do it the hard way, winning 4 games in a row. It was funny. For a moment, they were the number 1 team coming up out of that week. But unfortunately, as these rankings go, when you're idle, sometimes teams jump over you. But it's still a great season for Winston-Salem State. Number 2, Miles College comes in at number 2, 23-7, 18-5 in the SIC. They are the standard right now, just continuing to win and do it big in the SIC. Tough go in the first round. They ended up losing to the eventual national champions, Nova Southeastern, in the opening round of the Division II tournament. Nova ended up winning I think it was just the other day, matter of fact. So another school from Florida. So, hey, what do you know? Florida, the basketball state. Unbelievable. That pains me to even say those words coming out of my mouth. And number 1, Division II, HBCU national champs, Virginia Union Panthers, 24-8 overall. Actually a part of the CIAA. That's another proofing error by me. We'll fix that before we put it out. So I didn't blame you that time, Drew. I took the bullet on that one. Virginia Union won the regular season in the CIAA. Unfortunately, lost in the semifinals of the CIAA tournament. Went on to the tournament, won the opening round game, and then unfortunately lost in the round of 32.
Yes. They were the only team who made it into the tournament who picked up a win on the Division II level.
Right. All right. Any comments, any thoughts here? Well, okay. We can go right here to the
Not
Division
yet.
One
Nope.
men's. Okay.
No thoughts yet.
Let's go to the men's. Okay, so number 10 is actually a team who made it into the NCAA tournament. Texas Southern, the SWAC champions. They did it with a well under 500 record. 14-20 is how they ended the season. But the story of their season will be that magical run that weekend in Birmingham, where the title goes through Texas, and they shocked the world by taking out the 1 seed in the opening round, took out the 2 seed in the championship. And congratulations to Texas Southern on a great season. But they are number 10 in these rankings. Number 9 is Jackson State, also 14-19 overall. Number 8 is Southern, 15-17. Faded in the month of February, and I think if anything, that might have cost Sean Woods an opportunity to keep on going, because as I listen to Carlos Brown on Saturday afternoons talk about the late season collapse of Southern over the last 2 to 3 seasons, it just was becoming a pattern. And so Southern pretty much for the month of January, the first half of the season, they were in first place. But then down the stretch, I think they were only 3-6 down the stretch, and just not a good enough representation for what they wanted going forward. Number 7 is Tennessee State out of the OVC, finished 18-14 overall, and Maryland Eastern Shore, had a great season, a great run, did some historic things this year, especially in the first half of the MEAC season. And then I don't know whether maybe they just got tired or some things happened, or maybe other teams just figured them out, but they did not close really the same way in those last 2 to 3 weeks of the season. But it's still a great season overall for Maryland Eastern Shore, 18-13. All right, let's go to the top 5. Top 5. Number 5, North Carolina Central. Coach Lavelle Moulton, 11-5 in the MEAC, 18-12 overall record. Number 4, Alcorn State, the Braves, share of the regular season SWAC title won the tiebreaker, so they actually had the invitation after they lost in their opening round to Texas Southern. They ended up receiving the at-large or the automatic qualifier, excuse me, to go to the NIT. They ended up losing that game, though, so unfortunately that didn't go well for them. But still a great season for Landon Bussey, 2 titles in 2 consecutive seasons, and they'll continue to try to figure out what they need to do going forward. Number three is Norfolk State, the Spartans. 22-11, second consecutive 20-win season under Coach Jones. Come up short in the championship game of the MEAC. They were the 3 seed, and still a great season for Norfolk State. No postseason play, unfortunately, for the Spartans, and that is a true shame. Number two. Whoa, the Grambling State Tigers coming in at number 2, 24-9 overall, co-SWAC regular season champs, but they lost a regular season contest to Alcorn State, and so they ended up losing a tiebreaker. So their only opportunity of postseason play came in the SWAC tournament. This team, most wins of any HBCU. I think overall, Drew, if you think about it, just overall, most wins at 24. And down the stretch, they were one of the hottest teams too. So, I mean, it just speaks to the upset that Texas Southern had in the SWAC championship, because Grambling was probably one of the 2 hottest teams coming down in those final days of the regular season. So that means the number 1 team is the Howard Bison. Coach Kenneth Blakeney and Howard won the regular season outright for Howard, won the tournament for the first time in like 30-something years, 22-13 overall record, 14-3 in the MEAC. Very close. What was it? Less than a point difference between Howard and Grambling. And no, it was more than a point. I'm sorry. No, it was a
Less
point.
than a point.
80. Yeah, that's what I thought. I knew there was a couple of these where they were less than a point. So Howard, by nature of winning their conference tournament, I think that kind of solidified their spot over Grambling. I gotta imagine, I didn't do the formulas and didn't ask Drew to do them, but I gotta imagine if Grambling had won the SWAC with more conference wins or more wins overall, probably.
I think they,
probably would have had enough. So congratulations to Tougaloo. Congratulations to Tougaloo. I'm sitting here trying. Thank you. Congratulations to let me do the retake on that just in case we have to cut this. 3, 2, 1. Congratulations to Tougaloo, Virginia Union, and my mind is everywhere.
The Howard Bison.
Thank you. The Howard Bison. Oh man. Man, what a show. What a show, Drew. And hey, we got one more. Let's see. Any comments that we've noticed here? Nobody's really disputing the rankings. They kind of
Champ
they are what they
1012 says, can't believe I'm saying this, but that school in Durham should be higher.
Why? I would say why.
Thank you. Yeah.
Why?
Tell me why.
They didn't make the,
tell me why they should be higher than Alcorn State.
No. He's saying that he's talking about North Carolina Central.
Right. Why should they be higher than Alcorn State?
Yeah, but they shouldn't be. Yeah, but let's keep it within conference. Keep it within conference, Drew. They can't be higher than 2 teams who actually went to the doggone championship.
Yeah.
I mean, within their own conference. I mean, I get it. I mean, I know, but yeah,
Yeah.
All right.
Also, there's an interesting question. Edward asked, I think that was Edward. Someone asked what was the difference in the budget between Division One. Yeah, that was it. What's the difference between athletic budgets between Division Two and the NAIA? And I pulled up some information, and I actually got this information off of NAIA.org. They have a section where they compare the cost of running a NAIA program to a Division Two and or a Division Three program. And so, without being too detailed into it, you can go find this on NAIA.org. But the median total budget for an NAIA program is $3.2 million, and on the NCAA Division Two level, the median budget is $5.5 million. So you're talking over a $2 million difference. When you take the top 25% of those with the Directors Cup, and those are your championship level programs, their budget increases to $4.5 million for the NAIA level. And on the Division Two level, it comes out to $9.6 million if you want to compete at the top level, according to NAIA. So just to throw you some numbers out there, Edward. Like I said, you can go and read this on NAIA.org about that.
Okay. All right. We mentioned that we've been doing these softball and baseball rankings, so I don't want to take too much time. And I do want us to go through those, kind of put those out there quickly because it's week 3 of the of our softball and baseball rankings. I will say I think I saw one of the headlines that kind of caught my attention. I know Savannah State who took a series, or at least I know they took a doubleheader over Edward Waters over the weekend. So I know that happened. And I'm still looking out there.
And that was after Edward Waters was swept by Albany State the previous weekend.
Yeah, wow. Okay. So a tough little stretch here for them. Let me just kind of go through some quick standings here as I look over in baseball here. Guess who's in first place in the SWAC East, Drew?
That would be Florida A&M University Rattler. Shout out Kofi. Kofi would be so proud right now.
Hey, look. Hey, he we don't like all these midweek losses, but Coach Shoot, he has these guys focused on winning the SWAC tournament, and so or winning the SWAC. So right now, it's been a good start. The Rattlers swept Alabama A&M. So I mean, we benefited from a good start in terms of scheduling. So we'll keep it 100. We benefited from scheduling. That's all I'm gonna say. And so we're 6-0, 2 sweeps. So we'll put it like that. But Bethune-Cookman is just one game behind us with a 5-1 record. Over on the west side, Prairie View A&M, they have actually won 6 in a row. They are 3-0 right now in conference on the west side. Grambling State, watch out. Grambling State 5-1 right now. They have won 3 in a row as they looks like they swept somebody this weekend. As it relates to softball, I'm just kind of doing a quick glance here. Going to go through the standings here. Standings over on the east side in the SWAC. You've got Alabama State with a 6-2 record, Bethune-Cookman with a 6-3 record. Alabama State took advantage of winning 2 of 3 over FAMU this weekend, and so the Rattlers are 5-4. Over on the west side, Prairie View 8-0, winners of 5 in a row. Watch out for the Panthers.
Like, you just got to win a game outside of the conference.
Yeah. Well, hey, sometimes it's like that. Grambling 6-2. Um, and so our rankings that you're going to see here
Do not include
are
today's
not.
games.
Yeah, don't include today's games. So the MEAC. Now, obviously, the MEAC's not. Well, the MEAC doesn't have baseball. Softball. Do we know softball standings for MEAC?
They're reflected in the rankings as we go through
Okay,
the
let's
rankings.
take a look at the rankings here. Softball. You're gonna pull up softball first, right?
Oops. If I pull up the right graphic, there we go.
All right, let's kind of start down in the NAIA level for softball.
Division II. This is our small. This is our.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I
Small
have to
school.
rethink. Yeah, we do this under
Non-D1.
D1. We do it non D1 and Division I when it comes to baseball. So we treat baseball very similar. Baseball and softball we treat very similar to football, where it's basically 2 classifications instead of 3 like what we do in basketball. So just want to clarify that. Teams in the hunt. Lane. How about Lane College's record of 19 wins and 3 losses? Shout out to Lane College. All right. Forget the metrics and who you played, but just getting wins matters, right? Stillman with a 20-8 record in there. Albany State 16-10. Tuskegee 11-4. Jarvis Christian with 20 wins.
11-14,
on the
Brian.
year.
That's 14, not 4. 11-14, 4-4. For Tuskegee.
Where did I? What did I say?
You said 11-4.
Oh, okay, my bad. 11-14.
Yeah.
Jarvis Christian 20-12. All right, so number 5 is West Virginia State. Dropped a spot from 4-5. Claflin moved up a spot from being out of the top 5 to the number 4 spot. They're currently at a 17-9 record, 5-1 in conference play. Miles College dropped from 2 down to 3, an even 11-11 record. Bowie State coming up from the bottom outside of the 5 all the way up to number 2, 19-9, unbeaten right now, 6-0 in conference play. Number 1, Edward Waters Tigers, 24-4, top team in the SIAC, 8-2 conference record. Shout out to the Tigers on the softball field. Let's go to our Division I rankings. In the hunt, you can see teams such as North Carolina Central, Florida A&M, Norfolk State, and Jackson State. All teams still trying to get above 500 in their overall record. So number 5 is Alabama State with a 17-14 record. They dropped from 2 all the way down to 5. Tennessee State, unranked a week ago, not even in the hunt a week ago, all of a sudden jump into the rankings, 11-12 overall, but 5-2 in conference play. How about Prairie View A&M? We just talked about them on a run right now. The rankings for our list reflect 7-0, but I just told you they got a win earlier today. So they're actually coming in at number 3. Grambling State formerly was number 1, dropped to number 2. They did get a win today, so their record actually is really 20 wins, but as it relates to when we publish these, 19-9. And then a new number 1 coming from out of the rankings. And Drew, I'm going to let you talk about this as we get 3 teams unranked that jump into the top 5. The Morgan State Bears, unbeaten in conference play, 14-11 overall, jump into the rankings. How does this come about? Because people are going to always ask, you get 3 teams that weren't ranked a week ago. Now you get teams that are in. Explain it.
Brian, these rankings are only as good as the data that is fed into them. So when certain websites that we use do not have updated data on the day and the time that we pull the ranking, then the numbers are off. The numbers are skewed. So this week, where I pulled some of the numbers for the data, the numbers were updated and reflective of games that had actually been played last week. But when I pulled the numbers for last week, those numbers weren't on those sites. So henceforth, that's how teams came from. That's how we had three teams that came from nowhere to in the top 5 when we had good data on.
All right, so just so Edwin Moore
You
said,
know,
East Coast bias.
the old thing with computers: garbage in, garbage out. So good information in, good information out.
All right. Let's go over to baseball. All right, so this is the Division I ranking. Good Lord Jesus. Number in the look, can I just ignore? Can I just ignore? I'm gonna have to. Okay, let me be professional here. Let me read all the other stuff because there's only one line that I'm really seeing right now. Jesus.
No rapid bias in here.
None. Look, y'all know us. Grambling State, Texas Southern. Nice record, 17-9 record. I want to give a shout out. I've watched like Texas Southern softball. I'm gonna do a quick media plug here. I love watching Texas Southern softball online on their YouTube channel. They do a great production. Also, how about I'm gonna give a shout out to Alabama State. Love the fact that I can watch and hear commentating from Alabama State from their YouTube channel. Bethune-Cookman also
it's just not
does
the
a
huddle
good
cam,
job.
Brian. You mean
Not
just
the
not
huddle cam.
focus?
It's not just it's a one shot, but at least when you have commentating, it tells you what's going on, and you can it's I love it. Good background, like for like anybody who watches baseball, a lot of times it's background noise, at least for me, a lot of times. So I just like having it on and watching. So I just wanted to take a second to give a shout out to Texas Southern, Alabama State, Bethune-Cookman, and I'm sure maybe there's others out there, but that's who I've seen, and so shout out to them. Alabama A&M and Jackson State in the hunt. Number 5 is Alabama State, who came from up out of the hunt. Number 4, North Carolina A&T. Who were 5th last week. North Carolina A&T jumped up to 4, 5-3 in the Colonial. Number 3, Prairie View, still unbeaten, not ranked a week ago. Now they're all the way up to number 3. Bethune-Cookman, who was 3 last week, moves up to 2, and number 1. And Drew, I just look.
Last week,
I want to make
FAMU
sure
was number 2. Last week, FAMU was number 2.
FAMU, okay, they were number 2 last week. Okay, thank you,
yes.
Thank you. Who was number 1 last week?
That would have been no, it wasn't Grambling.
Texas
I
Southern.
have to pull it up.
It was Texas Southern.
Yes.
It was Texas Southern.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. Man. Wow. All right. These numbers fluctuate, but again, these numbers are congruence of a lot of things. Like there's a lot that goes into this chili.
Yeah. And I'm going to answer a question that I know that's going to be out there. What's the difference between Texas Southern and Prairie View? Because Texas Southern has a better overall record than Prairie View, but Prairie View's conference record is much better. Well, number 1, Prairie View is undefeated in their conference, even though they've lost a lot of non-conference games. And Texas Southern has beat up on a lot of non-Division I teams for some of those 17 victories.
Okay.
So
in our rankings,
and which goes into strength of schedule, but it does affect your strength of schedule.
But it doesn't. It affects strength of schedule. But notice it doesn't reflect the wins and losses. So, like sometimes we have distinguished wins and losses per conference or per division. But in this case, you win what you win, you lose what you lose. But the value of 17 wins versus the value of 11 wins is all based on who you got those 17 wins against. Is that
Right.
and again, this is not a poll; these are rankings, computer
Right.
rankings,
And
not individually aggregated.
just to give you why Texas Southern, they have played Valley, they played Wiley, who's a NAIA, they played Randall,
NAIA.
They played Arlington Baptist. They played a couple of Division Ones. They played Houston. They played Missouri. Played Texas Wesleyan, who's an NAIA. They played Arkansas Baptist, NAIA. They played Houston Tillotson, NAIA. And then they took 2 out of 3 against Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Yeah.
So, strength of schedule.
Yeah. Hey, you want to get wins. I mean, it's good to get wins. I mean,
yeah, good win. They got wins. They look good to the fans. Don't look good to the computer.
There you go. And I want to clarify something I noticed on your because I noticed these are through Saturday, and I noticed you had Florida A&M in their conference at 6-0. Technically, that should be 5-0, correct?
I pulled 6-0, but but we'll go. It really wouldn't matter because if it's and O, it's going to have the same effect.
Okay.
5-0, 6-0, because you don't necessarily get points for accumulated number of wins. It's based on the percentage. So 100% is 100%.
So let's put that graphic back up there again. The BCSN #1 team in baseball, the Florida A&M Rattlers, with a record of 11-12, finished up with a 12-12 record after a win on Sunday, and are unbeaten in conference play, sitting in the #1 spot. This is a ranking, not a poll. Wow! Congrats, Coach Shoup. Hopefully these guys can keep this thing going. All right, you can take it down now. I just wanted to say that and make sure I was seeing it right. I wanted to say it with conviction because I'm hoping we can say that a few more times, but I don't know. And if that's the only time I get to say it, then so be it. I said it.
Right. And Walter Harley asked the question, what teams are in the NEC? The NEC has the 4 former MEAC teams, along with the teams that were already in the NEC conference. So for HBCUs, that would be Delaware State, Coppin State, Norfolk State, and who am I forgetting? Maryland Eastern Shore. Those will be the 4 HBCUs competing in the NEC.
Gotcha. I did see earlier in the week, and I just wanted to I'm going to do a quick little glance back at our softball rankings and see. Yeah, okay, they were in the hunt. North Carolina Central, who got they're 5-0 right now in conference play, but they got a win earlier this week against North Carolina State, if I'm not mistaken. I only know that because I came across their social media post about that win. So, I shout out to the Lady Eagles on that one. So, all right, that's gonna. Anything we missed? I know we had.
We got to get Division II. We got to get non-Division One.
Oh, I'm sorry. Look, is there anything? I'm ready to go home. Look, after we done named FAMU #1, I was done. I'm like, let's go. Bag up the show, close up the computer. All right. So the non-D1 consists of Kentucky State in the hunt teams: Kentucky State, Virginia State, Florida Memorial, and Edward Waters. West Virginia State moves into the 5th spot, 9-9 record. Miles College comes up a spot from 5 to 4. They're 13-14, 10-6 in conference play. Talladega holds steady at the 3rd spot, 18-10-1, 8-4 conference record. Savannah State holds put at the 2 spot, 17-6, 13-4 in conference play. And number one for the third consecutive week now, the Albany State Golden Rams, 18-5 overall, 16-1 in conference play. Anybody look on their calendar and see when is that Albany State Savannah State series happening? That will be a fun one to watch. I don't know if it's coming up. That's
I'll get that to you in just a moment, Brian.
coming up in a couple weeks. So for you guys out there, what does it see? I see. Let's see. Dr. Cavill says he says he knows we don't calculate Sunday games. However, if played out as Southern took 2 out of 3 from Texas Southern with the win this evening, so Texas Southern got a win over Southern. Looks like Prairie View and Texas Southern. Prairie View travels to Houston to play a weekend series against Texas Southern. Is that baseball or softball, Doc? Kind of let us know there. Clarify that. D-Champ, 10-12. NC State backed out of a tennis game against A&T this weekend. A&T undefeated in men's tennis. Shout out to A&T men's tennis. Speaking of undefeated teams in tennis, how about Florida A&M women's? 7-0 in the SWAC, unbeaten in the SWAC. Shout out to the Lady Rattlers in tennis. Edwards says
Brian,
that, yeah. Go ahead.
You asked about Albany State, Savannah. Savannah has actually took 2 out of 3 against Albany, and that was March 10 and 11. That they took 2 out of 3.
Well, what's Edward talking about? He just posted Albany won 2 of 3 in Albany. So have they played twice? Have they already played 2 times?
They only played 1 time in the SIAC. Now I'm on the Savannah site. Savannah site has check that. Albany did take 2 out of 3. I'm looking at it backwards. Albany took 2 out of 3 and that was in Albany, March 10 and 11. Yes.
Okay.
So
right,
should they come down and be tied at the end of the year, Albany State would have the tiebreaker.
Right. Before we close out, Drew, got to make mention of the Final Four is now set in the Division I men's. Of course, you've got to have the University of Miami, the 5 seed, taking on UConn, the 4 seed. And on the other side, you will have San Diego State, a 9 seed, taking on Florida Atlantic University, a 5 seed. Or do I have that backwards? No, I have it backwards. San Diego State is the 5 seed. Florida FAU is the 9 seed. So you have a 4, 2 5s, and a 9. I don't think in the history of the tournament,
probably the highest combined seeding line that we've ever had.
You have no 1, no 2, no 3. There was money to be made. If you thought that was going to happen, what's that little line that Dave Chappelle show used to end with? I'm rich. Yeah. It's like, yo, you might have made some money if you thought that was possible.
There are no perfect brackets left. And speaking of brackets, our bracket challenge is going to crap. I know you and I are totally toast in the bracket challenge. Does anybody in our bracket challenge even have a team alive, Brian? With Texas losing, because I know I know we were looking at it. I know we had a couple people who had Texas coming into today.
A couple people did have Texas.
We might be able to pay out a week early.
Yes, you might be right. So here we go. The latest updated rankings of the SportsWrap March Madness contest, and I'd be surprised. Yeah. Okay. So, a good friend of mine, Gwen R. She is currently sitting in first place with 53 points. And I believe all of her Final Four teams are done. She has no more teams left. Her national champion was Kansas. Her Final Four teams were Texas, Kansas, Purdue, and Arizona. So I think by the nature of what she did in the first couple of rounds, she actually, for her, she had Kansas State getting to the tournament. Actually, she had Kansas State going to the regional championship. She had Gonzaga going to the regional championship, and I think those are the games that helped her. She had Texas going, so she had 4 of the 8 teams in the Elite Eight, three, excuse me, 3 of the Elite 8 teams, and I think by nature, you would have had to really reach out there to pick Kansas State. I don't know. Edwin Moore is currently in second with 48 total points. Edwin, he's done. He had Texas, UCLA, Kansas State, and Baylor as his Final Four. Had Kansas State won, he could have won this thing. I think by the nature of the points, that would have got him into the Final Four. He could have won. And I think, the fact that he was rooting on Texas was keeping him alive. But he finished at 3. And then, let's see.
At 2. You said at 2.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He was 2. He was 2.
Okay. So
yeah, number 3 is Tamara T. Tamara comes in at 3 with 47 points. Her national champion was Alabama, so she lost them. And let me see. She's done. She had Houston, Kansas, Purdue, and Alabama.
I told you, everybody's bracket is done, Brian.
Yeah. And as it relates to you and me.
Oh, we don't even want to talk about that. We the experts now, Brian.
Yeah. Some experts, right? I actually did better than you. My 2 brackets finished higher than your 2 brackets. So I had 2 brackets, one with 43 points, one with 41 points. Drew, your 2 brackets, you had one at 40 and one at 35. You must have been throwing darts at the wall on that second bracket that finished dead last with 35 points. You must have been going for every underdog. Or that was the one you went chalk. Or is that one you went chalk?
Which one is it? Because I don't have it in front of me.
2.
Yeah, number 2 is the one I was just doing it the old way. Which team do I like? Okay, I like that one.
Oh yeah, you had Alabama, Houston, UCLA, and Tennessee. Wow, you got wiped out in one entire region. The South was just so unkind to you. But it's a lot of people's thing. So it's really about where you got points. I was like, so yeah, that's vicious, man. So yeah, we'll be reaching out to everybody here over the course of this week because I don't think anybody else has an opportunity to really jump over the high score of 53 points. So because everybody else's national champion is out. There was Kansas. There was a couple people who took Alabama. A couple people took Kansas.
Houston was a common one.
Alabama. I mean, it was like, what do you? I mean, I somehow picked Purdue. I felt dirty picking Purdue, but I did, and then they rolled over and died before it even started. So. But now we go to the Final Four. But so where I was going and mentioning that is obviously next Sunday is the HBCU All-Star Game being played, I believe, at Texas Southern.
That would be correct.
Yeah, at Texas Southern. Of course, you've got the teams. You've got the team Dick Barnett, team Willis Reed. Obviously, that'll have a special meaning.
How fitting that they named one of the teams for Willis Reed.
Yeah,
before they
yeah,
passed.
the Willis Reed, who just recently passed earlier this week. Your coaches for these teams, you've got Benji Taylor representing Tuskegee. He will coach Team Dick Barnett. Kenneth Blakeney of Howard, he will coach Team Dick Barnett. Grambling's Dante Jackson will, of course, be coaching on the sidelines for Team Willis Reed. And then Jay Butler of Virginia Union will be coaching with Team Willis Reed. And so, it's a good crop of names here. Many of these names will be up for consideration on our All-American list. I think it'll be interesting to watch. Each team has a roster of 12 guys. So it'll be interesting. You'll see some guys from the Division II level mixed in with guys from the Division I level, and I think that'll be a nice run. But that is let me in terms of the game time for this All-Star Classic is scheduled for 6 p.m. Central, so that's 7 Eastern. Being played at Texas Southern in the H&PE Arena. Do I have the time on that right? Because I'm looking at something else that says 4 o'clock Eastern. But the tickets online say 6 p.m. Central. So, yeah, we'll have to take a look at that, Drew, and trying to figure out. Will it be streamed online? That's my first question, Drew. Will we be able to watch this? This game was on CBS last year. So, okay. So the game time, according to the website, is 4 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 p.m. Eastern. That's 3 p.m. local time at Texas Southern University. So if you're going to the Final Four or you're in the Houston area or Texas area, you got to get over to go support. CBS will be broadcasting, hopefully, the CBS, the main channel, and not just CBS Sports Network. That game will be 4 Eastern, 3 Central at Texas Southern. It's the second annual HBCU college basketball showcase. So, pretty good deal for these teams. And so, good opportunity. And so we'll see. We'll see. I know Doc will be down there, so maybe pay attention to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab this week. Maybe he'll be giving some special interviews or might be at practices. And, just pay attention to the show. It's Tuesday and Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central. Drew, anything else you want to close with before we get out of here?
No, Brian, it's beyond time to pick up this show and get out of here.
Now next week, let's see. Next week is the HBCU. Okay, so we'll get a chance to talk about that game, obviously, next week. We'll know what the national championship game will look like, so we'll also get a chance to talk about that. Get into a few more discussions regarding softball and baseball. And we will hopefully have a chance to release our All-American teams for Division 1, 2, and NAIA on the men and women's teams. So that's going to do it for this show. Congratulations to our teams, our national championship teams. And please take a minute, hit the thumbs up button on your way out the door if you haven't already, wherever you're watching us, on Facebook or on YouTube. And Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is where you can follow the Black College Sports Network at MyBCSN1, the number 1. And go download the Jericho Broadcast Network's app on the Google Play and Apple App Store. Just search MyJBN and MyBCSN. Our show will be available on the BCSN Pod Zone a little bit later. Hopefully, by the time you wake up in the morning, if it's not later tonight, you can always catch the replays and watch it on YouTube as well, on MyJBN1, youtube.com/MyJBN1. MyJBN1. All right, that's going to do it officially. Thank you to everybody. You guys have been great. Enjoyed the chatter and conversation. Wherever it is that you watch our platform, we are very appreciative of you. And for my co-host, A.D. Drew, I'm Brian Fulford. Be safe, be smart, and have a great week. Peace out.
Well, holla.
But earmuff, you stay on hard.